Hi, welcome to the Dixon Gallery and Gardens in Memphis, Tennessee. My name is Phil, and I'm one of the docents here at the Dixon. We're standing in the Plow Gallery today with the exhibition of the St. John's Bible. The St. John's Bible is a modern Bible copied by hand. It's in English, but it's using the same materials and methods that were used by the medieval scribes almost 500 years ago. In addition to the text of the Bible, it has about 160 illuminations, and out of those we have almost half of them on display here at the Dixon. The one we're going to be looking at today is from Genesis chapter 1, the creation. And Genesis chapter 1 presents the creation in terms of the 7 days of the week. And so if you look at this illustration, you'll see that there are 7 panels running across the page from left to right. Day 1 is represented by this panel on the far left, and you see there a lot of dark colors, of explosions and things going in all directions. In day 1, the text says it was formless and void. And in fact, down here at the bottom, you see the Hebrew words tohu vavohu, which literally means formless and void. And then out of that chaos, God begins to bring order. And God says, "Let there be light." And that is represented by this gold line running down the page. The illustrators decided not to try to paint pictures of God, but rather to represent God with gold leaf. And so throughout the St. John's Bible, you'll see gold used all over, representing the presence of God. But God says, "Let there be light," and there is light. And he separates it into day and night. And then in day 2, God creates the sky, and there's water above the sky and water below the sky. You know, in the ancient world, they didn't know necessarily scientific ways of explaining things, but water comes from the sky, so there must be water up there somewhere. So there's water above the sky and water down below, and that's on day 2. Then on day 3, God separates the water and the dry land. And so creation is a process of ordering and separating. And here on day 3, God separates the dry land and of the water. And here the artist has used a satellite image of the Ganges River Valley to represent the dry land. And that was one of the earliest areas of civilization. So it's certainly appropriate to use that. And you also see vegetation down here that begins to appear. Then on day 4, God creates the sun, the moon, and the stars. And so you see the figures of the sun and the moon. You see the orbits of the planets represented. Again, sort of adding in a modern scientific view along with the ancient story of creation. Then on day 6, you see the birds of the air and the fish of the sea. And you see the birds flying up here in the sky, and down below, all kinds of fish. Some of them look like pretty ferocious prehistoric fish, but some of them are modeled after the mosaics of the fish in the Church of the Multiplication on the Sea of Galilee in Israel. So they've combined different models for their fish. And then on day 6, God creates the land animals and the humans. And here the artist has done something I think really fascinating. They've used figures from ancient cave paintings in Australia to represent the humans down here. And then in the center, you have this figure which is an ancient painting from Africa representing the oldest female hunter or huntress that has ever been discovered. So that's fascinating there. And then here at the bottom, notice there's an image of a serpent or a snake. There's no serpent in Genesis chapter 1. The serpent actually shows up in Genesis chapter 3 with the temptation of Adam and Eve. But here we see the serpent as a kind of a foreboding of this danger that's to come. So those are the events in creation. And then finally, on day 7, there's no activity because on day 7, God rests. And so you have gold and beautiful light here. And in a sense, there's a movement from the chaos on the far left to the calm and God's rest on the 7th day. This is just one example of the marvelous illuminations that are used in the St. John's Bible. And there are many others here, and I hope you'll come and see them for yourself at the Dixon.